Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. I am here today with Steven Abbey. Steven Abbey has taken a novel approach to the health and wellness industry with the establishment of SOS Nutrients, a Santa Barbara-based smoothie. Steven's interdisciplinary background, featuring degrees in economics and psychology from the University of Colorado, has allowed him to develop comprehensive knowledge, understanding of economy, politics, and healthcare. His diverse career encompasses significant roles such as co-owner of Neighborhood Power Incorporated, a solar development company that achieved 40 million in back orders in 2016, and owner and co-founder of Allied Logistics, a Ventura-based aerospace manufacturing and exporting firm that was awarded Small Business Exporter of the Year in 2003. In addition to his entrepreneurial pursuits, Steven has demonstrated a commitment to philanthropy by co-founding the nonprofit organization Adopt a Pet in 1996. The initiative has since facilitated homes for over 2 million pets and increased its annual operating budget to over 2 million. His innovative approach to the health and wellness industry, exemplified by SOS Nutrients, showcases the potential for further advancements in the field, driven by sustainable and wholesome product development. And it was so great having Steven on today. He was such a wealth of knowledge, such a fresh take on ingredients that we're taking that we think are healthy and they aren't. He gave us the 411 on how to know if our ingredients are healthy. And we talked in length about fitness, which is, what I'm all about. Doing the rings in a CrossFit gym, the steps to doing pull-ups, just starting somewhere and not trying to be a superhero the first time you try something, but working your way towards it and challenging yourself, because it builds belief in, builds confidence in what you could accomplish. Today, we talked in length about balancing blood sugar, healthy ingredients, studies that Steven had all this research based science on the product that he has created, why he created it, how he created it, and how it works, and why it's successful to helping people to overcome illnesses and balance their blood sugar and lose weight. And all of the things, we all want to live our healthiest lives, right? I know you do if you're here listening to SOS Sweat. And by the way, that is the discount code today if you want to get and be a part of Steven Abbey's SOS Nutrients and his smoothie-based products. Make sure to check it out. Without further ado, we're going to dive into this episode with the one, the only, Steven Abbey. I am so excited to welcome Steven Abbey to the Sisterhood of Sweat.
Hi, Linda. How you doing?
Doing great. We've been having a great conversation. I wish I would have pushed record before. We're talking about things near and dear to my heart, like challenge and striving to do something you didn't think you could do. We're talking about the rings that many people use at a CrossFit gym. Gymnasts use them, and Steven uses them. And Steven, tell us how you kind of got into working out and being able to do the rings and the process. Did it suck at first?
It was hard. It was a wake-up call because what I'd been working out with a buddy, so we were already in pretty good shape, but it's very different lifting weights and doing the rings, because the rings, as I was mentioning before, it's all about stabilization and balance. And so doing things just like a bar dip is not as easy on there as opposed to where you're on a stable bars that you're on. It's a very different thing. And so we had to learn how to do these things. And then we also push some of the things like where we hang from them and then we bring our feet above our head and then we hold them out as far as we can for 5 seconds and then bring them down. It's this complex thing, but just the balance of keeping it from moving all around. And so it really engages the stabilizer muscles or the proprioceptor muscles, and it also engages your balance. And so, you know, I'm 57 years old, so I want to, as I get older, really have all of those things. I want to be in good shape, but keep my balance going and constantly be pushing the balance sort of thing along with keeping my stabilizer muscles in good working order. So that's why I started it to begin with. And I love them.
So can you do the muscle ups?
You know what? I haven't tried that. So the way that we are currently doing it is we just add weight, and we've gotten up to 90 pounds. Like, it's a lot of weight, but I don't know if I could do a muscle up. There's a technique to it. I've seen the cross.
You got to use momentum.
You've got to use momentum, but I've never had the space to do it because you need to have the ability to whip your legs out. And we're hanging it from my buddy's his basketball net, and it's not quite high enough to have my legs hang down to do the kind of the launch. But I really want to try it because I think we might be able to do it, but I actually don't know.
Well, now I know you're going to be like, oh, can I do it?
Yeah,
you're going to be like, I'm going to have to try.
Because I've seen so many other people do it. I see it on all the, the CrossFit competitions, and I'm like, I think I can do that, but I don't know.
The Kipling, like I have a Kipling rack and a pull-up rack. So it's sort of, I've been watching videos. I cannot lie. I watched videos on how to do the muscle up, and they did breakdowns of doing it from a bar that's a little lower, and you can practice kind of doing a very modified muscle up. But it reminds me a little bit of Kipling when you kipple to get up in your pull up, because you're using all the muscles in some momentum. And I remember thinking, oh, even the modified version of a muscle up is hard. But just like with a pull up might seem hard to someone when they begin, but if you do all of the steps, you can do pull-ups. It's just about realizing that you can't start out at the top. You got to work your way there. So I will be interested when you come on the podcast again to see if you got your muscle up too. And I'm going
to be very curious to be able to report that. I have no idea, but I love doing it because I feel in great shape because of just doing that. And then, so it's a great overall exercise. And
my gosh, it works everything.
Yeah, it works everything. Well, I mean, there are ways to do it for legs, but I do that differently. But basically, it's like one of the best exercises. Like my friend and I were working out, and then COVID happened, and all of the gyms closed. Yeah. So we just ended up doing this, and it was just a natural progression. And
oh, cool!
We've never gone back to the gym, even when they opened back up.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I guess you could hang rings in your basement.
Yep. You can if you have something hanging on, but yeah, it's great.
That's amazing. I do some suspension training on the TRX. I mean, it is suspension training, but like abs where you're basically hanging from your feet wrapped around the TRX and you pull yourself up, and fun things on the TRX. Now you've got me so invested in getting a pair of these rings. I'm going to have to be careful though, because I just got back up from all of my injuries. When you go to do
that, we should talk again, and I'll walk you through some good, or I'll send you some links to some great overall training ways to do, to start really just be patient with it. That's just
Yeah,
the important thing,
I'm
because they
excited.
are different and hard. And you know, the first thing is don't get hurt, and then you're going to build into this really capable on it. I mean, sure, you're going to jump right into it and you're going to do great. So, but just, yeah, you want to like keep from, you know, just do it really
I'm
well. And
definitely
the
gonna
course of
take
a
the
month or
route
two,
that you suggest.
yeah. So, but I'm happy to send you some stuff on that. I think you'll find it fascinating.
In the past, I would have just jumped right in, but I've gotten a little older and wiser in my younger years. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. Yes.
I've gotten some sense. Although you might not think so when you guys hear I'm gonna go ahead and hit the stage in June and do a fitness routine again. I'm excited about it. I've been practicing, and God restores our bodies. They can heal. And if you give your body the things it needs to heal, you can build yourself up instead of have your body break down. So that
Yeah.
is,
Fantastic.
yeah, exciting. So tell us a little bit about your journey into fitness and health and what got you started.
Well, into health, I had a series of issues a long time ago, and I just started doing a deep dive because the medical, one of the things I had was a really horrible case of psoriasis. And that I had a reactive hypoglycemia. I had low energy and all this other stuff. So I ended up, I first was going to the medical community, and they have some amazing stuff, but I weren't able to really help with these things. And so I started doing my own research, and then I just became fascinated with what's out there, because I started looking in things that I didn't have, like cancer, heart disease, autoimmune conditions, diabetes, et cetera, et cetera. And I was just blown away because what I was finding out there was not being translated into what people can do. And so I've been kind of just on this path, even though I've been doing all of these other businesses. I've had I was manufacturing and exporting aircraft components. Then I was doing solar development, et cetera, et cetera. But my real passion has been health and healing. I finally just started a supplement company, but it was because I was just so passionate about it. I've been studying it for so many years, and so that's how I got into it. And it was partly because I'd helped several friends that were really sick in the last months of their lives. And the last one just pushed me over the edge because I didn't see a way of getting her really good whole food comprehensive nutrition. So that's why I ended up starting it. But that was my journey to go down it. But I've also been interested in just in athletics. I played squash for many years, and I did jujitsu for many years. And unfortunately for squash, I broke my back. I did something. I broke the spinous process off my L4 to be exact. So it kind of put it where it made it a loose joint. And so that's why I went into jujitsu. Then I went into volleyball, and long story, but a lot of those things I can't do because of my back, but I still
Right.
mountain biking. So I'm just moving to the things that I can do, and I do mountain biking.
Absolutely. Find a way to work around your obstacles.
Exactly. So, and I love it. Speaking of getting injured, though, I blew out my knee and on a mountain bike crash. It didn't even seem like that bad of a crash.
Oh,
And I
wow.
tore my meniscus, but that is where Western medicine is fantastic. They did orthoscopic, and that was 6 months ago. And I mean, my knee is perfect again. So I feel very fortunate that we have that sort of things that we can, I just felt like Humpty Dumpty, and I was put back together again.
Well, I feel like a brand new girl that has all the potential in the world right now because my body feels completely well and restored. But I did it with supplements. So I'm a big believer in supplements. I definitely never thought I'd be telling you I take creatine every day and I don't want to miss. And I am big into taking the preventative things for my joints that actually really help the connective tissue. It helped to oil up the joints, makes them feel like they're 20 instead of 60. I really am a big believer in finding things that help you, that have nutrients. So I'm very excited to dive into your supplements, your supplement company. But first, when you decided to just haul off and go in a new direction and just jump into supplements instead of what you were doing before, did you have anybody tell you were crazy? Did you have any naysayers, or was everybody on the bandwagon? Let's go, Steven.
Well, so there's a guy here locally in town, and he was the president of Balance Bar. I don't know if you remember Balance Bar from the day, but they
I
sold
have
that.
one in the basement.
What's that?
Are you talking about the bar to eat or the bar to lift?
Oh no, Balance Bar, the bar to eat.
Oh, okay.
It was a
I
local
know what you're
company here
talking
in Santa
about.
Barbara, but they sold it to Kraft, I believe, for I think it was $200 million back in 2000. And he was the president of the company when it sold, and he was part of a program where he goes out and helps new companies, get their marketing out and all that sort of stuff, and he donates his time. And his thing was, Steve, you've got to make it super good tasting. It's not. You got to make it super inexpensive. It's not. You've got to make it super easy to take, and it's not even that, because it's most to be mixed in with a smoothie, though I'm coming out with one that doesn't need to be mixed in with a smoothie and a multivitamin just because of that. But to me, it's a step down, because smoothie part is so important. And then he said, convenient price. And he said, have a big profit margin. And there's not. It's just, but what it does have, and now I'm actually doing all of these studies on it, is it's having these drastic effects in a very short period of time. And so I'm super excited about what it's doing. And the real thing about it is whole foods as opposed to synthetics. I'm not saying all synthetics are bad, but almost every product on the market is full of synthetics now, and they don't operate the same in the body. And for long-term nutritional support, having, let's say, your vitamin C from whole form, from berries or freeze-dried organic berries, let's say, as opposed to ascorbic acid or liposomal vitamin C or calcium ascorbate. All of those are synthetics. They operate very differently in the body because they don't have all the cofactors and bioflavonoids and everything else your body needs to utilize them. So that was the route that I chose to do, is really have all whole foods and have it comprehensive. So it's a big product too, because it's like a lot of powder and all really concentrated. So it's even something for most people to start with, a half serving and get used to, because it's a lot of fiber and a lot of nutrition, and your body almost needs to adjust to it. So
I really believe in the whole foods. I am a consultant for the Root Cause Protocol, and Morley Robbins talks a lot about not having the exorbic vitamin C, but having the whole food vitamin C when you're trying to feed your adrenals. And he talks in length about avoiding the synthetic and getting into the whole foods. So I think it's an important conversation to be had, because so many people are not knowledgeable about their supplements, and they think they're doing a good thing when they go on the market and buy what's recommended on TV and has all the things in it. Well, I'll just take this one vitamin for everything. And it isn't necessarily, it isn't going to give you the optimal support that a whole food would give you. And there again, the public, again, if they're not educating themselves or they're trusting marketing, they may be taking cereal that says multigrain, and it's like crack in a box. It's not. It's just laden with sugar, and it's enriched so much that they stripped it of everything good.
And it can have molds, and it can have preservatives, and it can have Our diet in the United States, I do a presentation where I kind of go through where we stand as a country. And there was all this studies done on what is the macronutrient breakdown in the United States in terms of where did the main components come from. And it was broken down this way. 42% of the calories in the American diet were refined fats and refined sugars. So those have essentially no nutrient value. They have calories, but they have no nutrient value or very little. Then you have 26% meat, dairy, and eggs. Pluses and minuses with those, right? So then you have 20% refined grains, essentially same thing as the fats and oils, really almost no nutrition in that at all, because those are refined. And that leaves 12% for whole plant foods. And that means fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, and legumes, right? And whole grains.
Yeah.
All of those equal 12% of our diet. And there have been a series of studies out of the University of Tehran Medical Sciences University, where they were looking at what's called the phytochemical index. So that in the United States, 12% of our calories come from whole plant foods. So that would be what they would call a 12 on the phytochemical index, or what percentage is in our whole foods. And their lowest 25% of their country is 14, and their highest is 43%, right? And the difference between those numbers was a 91% reduction in breast cancer, a 92% reduction in breast cancer, 91% reduction in prediabetes, a 66% reduction in obesity, a 59% reduction in metabolic syndrome, a 62% reduction in depression, everything across the board. So having that, it doesn't mean somebody has to be vegan or vegetarian, but having a good amount of whole plant foods in the diet, and they weren't even looking at the quality at that point. It's just as long as they were whole plant foods, but it had a drastic increase across the board.
Now, how can the consumer tell the difference between high quality research backed products and those that lack scientific support, just kind of like what you were talking about?
So it's a really hard thing because you have to know how to read a label. And I'm going to do a presentation on how to read a label so somebody can actually look at a label and read it. So when you see, like most times when people see, they'll see vitamin A and it'll say in quotation marks, beta carotene, right? So they're thinking, oh, that's fantastic. Beta carotene can come from a petroleum product. I mean, you don't know. And that's why there was a study done with smokers where they were looking at lung cancer risk, and they divided them into two groups, placebo-controlled study where one group got beta carotene and one group didn't, because beta carotene was shown in dietary form to be very preventative of lung cancer. But in this study, they had to stop it early because it increased the amount of lung cancer in them, because they were giving one carotenoid, beta carotene, from a synthetic nutrient to these people. And so it ended up increasing it substantially. And so they just immediately shut it down. And that is the problem. Same thing on my website with the ascorbic acid, or the version of vitamin C from a lab, right? I have a study where they were looking at heart disease risk and the progression towards it. They were looking at, from supplemental form, the higher the amount of supplemental vitamin C, the faster people were moving towards heart disease. Whereas when it was dietary, it was a protective effect. So one moved you faster and one didn't. It's because how it operates in the body is drastically different. And that's pretty much across the board. The problem with it, and the reason why supplements are so popular, is because they are incredibly cheap. They're incredibly shelf stable. They don't have any taste issues, and there are no supply chain issues. They're very simple. From a business perspective, that's the way to go. And you never have a supply chain issue because there are several manufacturers, never a problem to get them. You have such tiny amounts, you don't have flavor issues, right? And you have long shelf lives. So it's the simplest thing to do. But if you want to have a real That's why I basically dropped my world and spent over 3 years now developing this, because to find a zinc, like, it was an organic guava leaf extract. It's so boutique, but it's this specifically grown guava leaf on the specific soil that's then taken and extracted, so you get a level of zinc that you can actually stand behind, right? But it's whole form zinc as opposed to zinc gluconate or zinc oxide or something like that. And to me, the same thing with ascorbic acid. Mine's from an organic freeze-dried blend of berries, as opposed to ascorbic acid or liposomal vitamin C or calcium ascorbate or any of the other ones. The base is ascorbic acid. Do you have any idea how ascorbic acid is manufactured? Have you ever heard? So just to give you an idea, it used to all be made in a lab in New Jersey. That's all shipped over to China now. 95% of the world's supply is made over in China. And there are a couple of different labs over there, but the main one uses this process. It's a patented process. And what they do is they take high fructose corn syrup, they put it under incredible pressure, incredible heat. They do an acetone wash, and then they neutralize it with hydrochloric acid. And in the end, you have a molecule that is chemically identical to what you find in nature, and yet it has no vitamin activity on its own. Because it's like driving a car somewhere.
Wow,
right?
that's fascinating. Now
Well, you have an
we are
engine.
getting an education today.
Yeah, but if you have an engine, right, that could be the vitamin C, right, or the ascorbic acid. But without the wheels, without the steering wheel, without the seats, without the structure, you can't actually get there. That's why with the original guy who got a Nobel Prize for discovering vitamin C and really bringing it to the forefront of things, it was a guy out of I think it was Romania. It was Dr. St. George. In any event, he was able to demonstrate that it took tiny amounts of vitamin C to reverse scurvy, right? But if you took the refined form, even from a whole food form, but it was refined down to just ascorbic acid, it would not cure scurvy at all. So he could give scurvy to humans are one of the few animals that do not make their own internal vitamin C. Yeah, right. So another one are guinea pigs, and guinea pigs. So he would give them scurvy, and then he would treat them, giving them vitamin C, and he was doing this whole thing with them. But if you refined it down to ascorbic acid, it wouldn't cure them, and they would die.
Wow.
So
That is eye-opening. So much information. And it's important for everybody out there to kind of understand, and have this knowledge. And, it's endless, the things you can learn to help better your health and and realize that some of the things maybe that you thought were healthy, maybe they aren't. Just open your mind a little bit to the fact that you could find some knowledge today and find some things that are more effective because they are built with quality ingredients. And I think it's very important what you put in your body. It shows up as we age, and it's very important to treat your body like a Lamborghini, the one that you want that's a showpiece, not the broken down piece of junk that maybe somebody has. And so you got to put quality ingredients and treat your body just like you would a Lamborghini. So can you tell us what in your SOS nutrients makes it different from other products, and how does it help to treat chronic illnesses?
So what makes it different? So there are two aspects. The main one is what I was just saying, which is the fact that it's whole food form, right? So that's taken years to get that. And that was not easy to find all these components. Like literally, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars researching this, as crazy as it sounds. And it's just because it's a passion project, right? And finding all of these different things. I mean, the iodine, instead of using potassium iodide, right? That's what in almost everything. I use a blend of 3 organic kelps from Iceland, far away from any industrial center, right? So instead of, like I talked about, the guava leaf extract, or like there's just all these things that are all from all over the world. So that's the main thing. But another is that it's comprehensive. So it's made of 9 components of full things. Because like you see all these books I have behind me, right? Or actually you can't really see it. But in any event, it's the magnesium miracle or the iodine crisis or all about mushrooms, and which one's important. And I'll say they're all actually important. So I put together, it's 9 components. So it's a full greens powder by itself, right? And it's mostly cruciferous because it's so anti-cancer. It's got broccoli sprouts, it's got kale, it's got spinach, which is not a cruciferous, but very healthy on its own. It's got green tea, it's got a blend of 3 organic kelps that I said. And then I've got a berry blend, and it's a blend of freeze-dried organic berries. And the reason why I say freeze-dried is it's 3 times more expensive to buy freeze-dried, but it retains almost all the nutrients, whereas almost all other air-dried ones the nutrients are just stripped out of it. So it's worth that additional money. And that's a full berry blend. And then I have a prebiotic blend. I have a probiotic, which is 10 billion CFUs of bacillus strains. But the prebiotics are the more important, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's great for repopulating your gut, but you need to have that to feed your gut bacteria, or you're going to constantly just be going back to your baseline, and you need to be feeding them while you're repopulating them. And then I have a full enzyme blend. I have a botanical blend in there of and these are legitimate doses of turmeric, ashwagandha, elderberry powder, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's a full-on thing. It's a seed blend in there. There are 9 components. That's why it comes in as a smoothie mix. And then if somebody makes it into a healthy smoothie, it's just fantastic nutrition. Like you take something that's already really good for you, but you cover in, most people don't put mushrooms in their smoothie. Now there's mushrooms in there. Most people don't put green tea. Now there's green tea in there. Most people don't have any vitamin D, but there's an algae extract. So I could go on and on. I don't mean to be going on,
but it's not boring. I think it's fascinating. My listeners really get into the podcast where we're talking about their health and where we're going in detail about things that they don't know about. I mean, they say that this is a wealth of information. So you can totally geek out on your ingredients. We love hearing about it. You said something about vitamin D. Explain that again, because in the root cause protocol, he advised against taking synthetic vitamin D. And so I want to know, what is the vitamin D in your product? What is it?
It's from an algae extract. So it's grown into algae. So just like mushrooms make vitamin D2, algae makes vitamin D3, and you can extract that, stabilize it, and utilize that. So yeah, there are synthetic versions. I'm not using those. And I still think the best way to get your vitamin D is outside. From the sun. What's that?
Outside.
Outside, exactly. So to me, this is a secondary way, but over 95% of people in the United States are at 35 nanograms per milliliter in their blood or less. So to me, that is way too low. If you look at the studies for breast cancer, I just spoke at the Breast Cancer Resource Center, and there's a study that was looking at, and there's just a stepwise approach down in breast cancer risk as women had more and more vitamin D, all the way up to 60 nanograms per milliliter. But again, 95% of women are at 35 or less, with some at 10 nanograms per milliliter. These are crazy high risk for having that. So would I recommend having a supplemental vitamin C? Absolutely. If somebody's not getting enough sun, I would absolutely do it. And I don't see any danger to having too much. I'll say that's my impression based on what I've looked at in the literature. There was a study that came out that said you shouldn't have over 40 nanograms per milliliter. That's been essentially discredited now, and people are saying, no, there's no downside, especially when looking at all-cause mortality.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So you said it's not too tasty. So I am personally myself, if you told me it was good for me, I would be having it no matter what. But the listeners may not. So what is a tasty way for them to have your powder so they can get the health and enjoy it?
Well, I have a flavored product coming out for those that don't want to have. I'm going to continue taking it as the unflavored version because I just mix it with a whole bunch of things and I don't even taste it. But there's going to be a flavored version that's coming out in July, and that should be, you can just mix it with water and it should be fine to do that way. And there's going to be a multivitamin. This is a huge step down because it doesn't have the prebiotics, because you're going to be taking it in capsule form, right? So it's all whole food. So it's 5 capsules. It's still a big amount, but it's at least something you can do. If I was to do the normal smoothie product in that, it would be like 40 capsules, right? So there's no way. So this is going to be covering the RDA nutrients, but you're missing out on the mushrooms. You're missing out on the green tea. You're missing out on all these good things. So again, I'm passionate. I want to have one thing that does it. So there are recipes on my website to take the unflavored version and make it into something that tastes really good. And I have the difference between really high level advanced smoothies, I'll say in quotation marks, that are super high end, like they have cabbage. I know this sounds horrible, but it doesn't taste bad, especially with a little vanilla extract and a few other things. It tastes fantastic, but it's like got cabbage and kale and blueberries and a nut and seed butter. So there are ways to do it. But if somebody just want to taste a banana cacao and with peanut butter and a plant-based milk, and you've got a very good tasting one. And I'd make that. And it's fairly healthy aside from the powder itself. But the ways that I'm making it, it's just really, it's a life-changing smoothie. And I've been doing studies on it since January of this year. And the results I'm having in just tiny amounts of time are pretty impressive. So I'm really excited about it because it's not just the product, it's the product inside of a smoothie where somebody's getting all these amazing plant foods.
So what are some of the results that you're seeing from your product when people try it, so they know what kind of success they could have from being part of the SOS brand?
So I pitched Forrest Galante, who's the host of Animal Planet and Discovery Channel. But
cool.
He's not just the host, he produces the show too.
Yeah, that's
he
cool.
Just happens to be here in town, and a friend of mine knew him. So she introduced me and I pitched him. I said, how about this? We'll take your blood. I'll bring you a smoothie. I thought it was going to be like 3 months, but he had to go off to Africa and Australia on a shoot. So it ended up being only 5.5 weeks.
That's so cool.
And I was like, I don't expect that much because you look like a Greek god, right? The guy is in fantastic shape, right? He works out 6 days a week. You know, he's 34 years old. He's a great guy, but his inflammation was surprising. It came back as a 10.9 on the C-reactive protein, which basically means you want to be under 1. So he's incredibly high inflammation.
Oh yeah, it's the silent killer.
Well, he went from 10.9 to 1.6. Now, I didn't expect that big of a result, but that's fantastic amazing result. He went from pre-diabetic of 5.7 on the A1C to a 5.0. And if you know what that means a rock star blood sugar. He went from pre-diabetic, granted it was the bottom end of the pre-diabetic,
wow, that's
up to
impressive.
A rock star blood sugar. And that's everybody so far.
Yeah.
And then
what's helping to balance the blood sugar?
Amla powder, turmeric.
I do turmeric, yes.
All these things, as well as several other things. But those things immediately dialed in for that. And then oxidative stress. So his oxidative stress, he had a couple of different things. One is F2 isoprostane, which is a measure of lipid oxidation. And it was really high. It dropped by 52%. his 8-OHDG, which is a measure of DNA damage usually from oxidation, but it's just a measure of DNA damage. And that starts at the red zone where you don't want to be. The red zone starts at 400. He was 1,048. Like, he was way into the red zone. He dropped by 65% and got into at least the yellow zone. Still not in the optimal, but in a very good place. So
Now, how long did he take it before he noticed the drop?
it was 5.5 weeks. It was supposed to be 3 months. So he's still taking it. We're going
Okay.
to do another one.
Yeah.
And he's willing to bring me on his show and do all that. So that's thumbs up. And
That's amazing.
yeah. So he's all excited about it. He's all, let's just keep doing this. Like, this worked out great. So, yeah, so I'm going to work with him on that. And I'm actually going to be pitching other people because I want to demonstrate it in real time. Because to me, SOS stands for Science of Supplements. And I want to demonstrate everything that can be done. But it is a different product. It requires effort. Like, to make that, if somebody makes that into a healthy smoothie, it is really, there's just like no other product like it. Of course, I'm biased though. So no
You
doubt.
have to send me some, because the Sisterhood of Sweat, SOS Sweat,
Yes, I know.
has to-
Exactly.
we
We're
have to
already
try
co-branded.
this out. I mean, are you kidding me? It's like hand
Yeah, we're
tailored,
already co-branded, Linda. We're already co-branded.
you know? And so also, how can the listeners get this powder? Do you have a link or something you can share?
Yeah, no, I'll send over. I have a website. It's sosnutrients.com. So just SOS Nutrients. I'll send you the link, and I'll send you a discount code if anybody wants to try.
SOS Sweat for the discount.
Okay, SOS Sweat. All right. So yeah,
Oh
no.
my gosh, that's what it usually is. So I love this so much. This is so exciting for everybody out there that wants to take better care of their health and their wellness. And balanced blood sugar is where it's at. I preach that day in, day out. And if you can have a supplement that can take you in 5.5 weeks to a more balanced blood sugar,
Well, I'll
I'm
tell you what,
down.
I work with people that have diabetes. And so if somebody needs to balance out their insulin and their blood sugar, right, it's critically important for so many things, for overall health, let's say, but for weight loss, for all these things,
It's so
it is
critical.
critically important. But my product is not necessarily based. It just happens to do that, especially when mixed in with all these other things. So it's doing that, but it's not designed. If somebody really wants to do that, berberine is a good
I
thing to
take
have.
that.
You do, you know about this. Amla powder. Do you know amla? Are you familiar with
What
that?
was the other one?
Amla, Indian gooseberries. I'll send you
I
the
don't have that.
we're done here. Like, it's fantastic for balancing out blood sugar, black cumin seed, et cetera, et cetera. I have this whole program. If somebody wants to really do it and step into it, I'm going to make it into a product someday, but I don't care. I just want people to get healthy. So there are all these things that you can do for lowering blood sugar.
So I love that you brought up the berberine, because it's been like a godsend to me. And it actually, the recommendation came from my gynecologist when I told her I had to get up every night to go to the bathroom, and every night a couple times. And so once I started taking that, I didn't anymore, which also, when I've done like tissue mineral analysis and blood tests, it came back that I had a hard time processing sugars. So even though I wasn't eating any, okay, so pretty interesting. But I could dive into that science for a while, but I would just say that it was huge for me, because it does balance your blood sugar, and that might have been part of my problem, because it's eliminated it completely.
Well, did you ever have any sort of testing regarding either your insulin level, your A1C, your glucose, anything, epinephrine?
I haven't. The most I did was with the blood tests and the tissue. I went to a holistic doctor, and they did a whole, booklet, and it was just basically saying that I was having a hard time processing sugar, Now, my fitness coach thought I could have been a little insulin resistant. I don't know if I am now. I think I've really turned the corner with all of the things I'm doing.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like I might have bounced out of it a little bit, and it's hard to bounce out of once you've gotten in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it sounds like you've figured that out, but if when you have another test, I would highly recommend just getting an A1C. It's a good indication of how your last 3 months of blood sugar control are going. And it's just a very good, instead of looking at just glucose and or something like
I
that,
mean, yeah,
take that as
right.
well. But
I mean,
um
people are into that these days. They're wearing these glucose monitors. You got the glucose goddess. You've got everyone is learning uh some knowledge about this. And I love the idea of testing because I do believe in testing. So I may have to go do that just to see where my levels are.
Well, if you do that and you want some ideas, I have a bunch of ideas for the things to dial in and ask for your practitioner. Can you have these done as well? I don't know what insurance you have or however, but
Oh, I can totally go. I can order my own blood test because in the root cause protocol, that's what we do. We do the tissue mineral analysis, the blood test. And so I should just go ahead and do the test because that, again, knowledge is power. The more you know, the better you can take care of yourself. That's why I've really enjoyed this episode with you today. You're a wealth of knowledge. I feel like I'm going to have you back on because there's so many more questions I could ask, and I know you would have a wealth of answers. Where can everybody reach you on social media and get a hold of you?
well, again, the best way is sosnutrients.com, the website, just sosnutrients.com. But we have an Instagram presence, Facebook. To be quite honest, that's not I am involved in it, but I don't really follow it that much, to be quite honest. So I just am trying to make the absolute best product, but there are other people kind of doing that right now. So yeah.
Hey, I get it because I get on social, but like I had so much else to do. I'm running a business. I totally get that. I do like to do social when I get a chance. So I really want to tell you, I really enjoyed so much having you on and listening to you talk about health and wellness and your products. And I look forward to having you on again in the future. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. And absolutely would love to be on again and just tell me what it is you want to talk about and I'll get it kind of all dialed in and ready. So
I totally will. And thanks everybody for listening to this episode. Reach out to Steven, find out more about his product, use the code SOS Sweat, and we'll leave it in the show notes. And everybody have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.